A data talk at Monarch usually covers some kind of data that has come up during the week. They happen every week for 50 minutes with all the teachers at the same grade level. We look at samples of student work, whether that's an assessment or a piece of writing or running records and reading, and we do a common set of questions and analysis on it to look for trends amongst our kids, both in terms of their strengths and in terms of their weaknesses, and then plan for instruction from there, either whether that's reteaching or planning something that we haven't done yet.
Usually we come into a meeting and start by closing the loop, and that means talking about whatever we had discussed at the last meeting, how it was going, what we're doing to reteach it, just kind of a check-in about the last data meeting.
We're going to start with closing the loop from the observation we did of Nair, and then we'll get into our fractions assessment, and then talk about upcoming data talks at the end. So I actually ran into Nair in the copy room, and she gave me a folder of stuff that she had been planning to copy for us, and it just hasn't gotten around to it yet. So maybe we can, these are the questions that we sent her and her responses. So let's take a look at those, and then we can also page through the folder of stuff and see if there's anything else we want to get from her. I was thinking basically we should just think about what have we learned so far from that conversation and what do we want to happen next.
The next piece of the data meeting usually involves bringing a new piece of data, something that we discussed previously. We bring the data, an analysis of the data, and kind of any trends, surprises, things we want to focus on.
We choose which data to look at based on a lot of different factors. Often it'll be what's coming next in our scope and sequence is something that we want to make sure we're looking at some data to see where our students are now so that we know what we still need to teach them. Or it's something that we've been working on recently and we just feel like we don't have a good idea of where our students are at or how they're doing. So Tatiana and Carla, this was a pre-assessment. We have not really started. We started our fractions unit today, but since we taught a lot of fractions in second grade, we really wanted to know what our students are already coming in with and what we don't need to worry about and what we do need to worry about. So that's where this came.
So in our third grade data meeting, the piece that we looked at was a common assessment. It was a pre-assessment after most of the teachers had only taught fractions for 1 day's tops 2. They had given me the test ahead of time. It was pieces taken out of the Singapore math, and then I took it, aligned it to a California standard, and uploaded it to Edusoft so that they could get feedback that had an item analysis on it, which is really important so that they can find if there's common misconceptions or common answers. I'm excited that numbers 9 and 10 are 5th grade standards. They don't have to start multiplying fractions until 5th grade, and I think I'm just really excited that they're at the middle of 3rd grade and they're already starting to have to figure that out. When I was making the Edusoft piece, I'm like, I can't find it, I can't find it, I can't find it. So I just started looking ahead. I'm like, well, it's not in 4th grade. I'm like, when do we teach it? And I was psyched. I'm glad you guys aren't shying away from it. Once the test has been uploaded onto Edusoft, the teachers scan the bubble sheets and they can immediately, within seconds, get all of their results. At our data meetings at Monarch, it's expected that teachers scan and get their results back and analyze them to some degree before they come to the data meeting. So as we saw in our data meeting, everybody came in already knowing which kids were high, medium, and low on which standards and on which questions, which allowed us to delve deeper right away instead of take time together to sit and do individual work.
And then the way we set up this template is we just looked at each problem. There were 10 questions on the test, and we just looked at each one and sort of gave it a label for what type of fraction skill it was. And then we sorted our students into high, medium, and low according to each of the skills. So we have identifying and comparing fractions, equivalent fractions. There was one that Lisa and I just thought was really challenging and didn't really fit into any other, so challenging problem, and then fractions of a number. I think it was like half of 20 was the example, 1/2 of 20 or something like that. So we can take a minute to just share out results, trends, surprises, what you noticed.
I had one student miss number 1. That was hopeful.
Me too.
That was good. Thank you. Yeah, 60% on number 2, which was, I think, surprising to me, finding which one was the greatest.
Surprising good or surprising bad?
Surprising good. I mean, they have different denominators, so it would be interesting to see how they actually.
I get a copy of the test too because I just wanted to copy it.
How they actually figure that one out.
My surprise was on number 2. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine on those two.
My surprise on number 2 and happy surprise is that all but one student marked the same wrong answer, 2/9, which is the biggest denominator. So that's, I am happy to see that that isn't easily, hopefully was solved today with the lesson today problem, that what does it mean the greatest? Because they went for the easy answer, and maybe now.
When I saw that, I thought it was my mistake. I'm like, oh no, I hope I didn't put it in because of last time.
Yeah.
Well, and Sarah, is this yours? No, Lisa, you have the same thing. Everybody marked D except for one.
And I have the exact same thing, D, 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 1 C, and a D. So that's a big trend.
Yeah.
So it seems like one of the trends is with comparing fractions, just a really simple reteach of the idea that bigger denominator means smaller fraction.
Usually by the end of that piece of data, we've come up with a few reteaching points, a few things that we want to work on for the next time, and those will be where we start the conversation in the close the loop next time.
When do we want to close the loop? We decided to be done by February 20th. Should we give a post-assessment done and then look at it at the data talk the following week?
The close the loop piece of the data meeting allows the team to check back in and either A, look at data, or B, just talk in more generalities about how things are going around whatever topic it is. So whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, the team will get back together and say, I did this, I did this, I did this, and now these are my results.